Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing fine. I am Aurelius. Today, I'm bringing you something personal. Um, I think it's about time. I've been thinking backwards about this because I have many people coming up to me when they find out that I was United States Marine. I usually hold back on that. I keep that information to myself. But I think it's time to tell you a little bit about what people are interested in. And in this case, what people are interested in is become a Marine. Not necessarily a Marine, there's some that are interested in joining the Air Force, some the Army, and of course, some the Navy. Well, I'm here to tell you something about how that is all set up. Military people, whether it is Marines, Air Force, Army, they assign certain individuals to do recruiting. And these people, they go to places like high schools, which they are not supposed to do because we are not a propaganda. But because nobody says anything about it, they position themselves, I will say, they position themselves in places like that. And the reason why that's convenient to them is because a lot of the kids, they don't know any better. They're looking for a different life. Some want to run away, and so they're there for those individuals. And they instruct them, and through leadership and their uniform, they convince them this is the way to go. I happen to believe that that's garbage because their main interest is to convince you to join in. So they give you the worst job possible. But you don't know that because you are being guided by somebody you consider to be respectful and honorable. I joined in Gettysburg in Washington, D.C. as an enlisted man in the United States Navy. I spent 2 years in the United States Navy until I turned in what is considered to be a sergeant, is basically a second class petty officer. At the time when I was second class petty officer, I was going to first class petty officer. First class petty officer. I finished my bachelor's degree. And I want to tell you why that is important. The reason why that is important is because many of the good jobs are not in the enlisted rate. They are in the officer's candidacy rate. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to become an officer is because I knew that if I come in as an officer, I will have more opportunities on jobs that are incredible, that you would think you would never have. And that's exactly what happened to me. I knew that because I had already spent 2 years of my life in the United States Navy, and I didn't see no progress going on. I was constantly mistreated, I was constantly undermined, and I was constantly told off. But they don't do that with officers. In fact, officers are very much respected. Enlisted people are supposed to salute them every time you see them, including the captain. If you did not know that, for those that do not know that, for those that know that, then you know what I'm talking about. I want to tell you about this because I keep seeing people joining in as enlisted because they don't know any better. There are two types, enlisted and officer. I consider the enlisted personnel people who are, the keepers, the people that are told what to do, the ones that are going around trying to clean up and manage. They're also the workers. And consider a nurse and a doctor. A doctor will tell the nurse what she needs to do, and a doctor will operate, which is the biggest job. It's something like that, On one side, you respect the nurse because she works really hard, but on the other side, you can't do anything without the doctor. So when I joined, I got out in 2012. I got in 2012 as a first lieutenant, one way away from being a captain. So I know a lot about what's going on in the Marines. Now, don't get me wrong, whether you're enlisted or you're officer, the Marine needs people like you, people like me. You have to be committed because your main goal is to protect this nation against any tyranny. This is the reason why it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter what president you're serving, because in the end, you're not serving him, you're serving your country. Nevertheless, as an enlisted man, you never consider yourself to do more than you have to. But as an officer, you are the leader of the group. You will always be the leader of the group. And even though enlisted are also leader of their group, they're leader of their groups under their rank. In other words, if they're first class, anybody that's second class and below belongs to the first class. But guess who belongs to the first class? An officer. If a first class, or in this case a staff sergeant, needs to be corrected, it's got to be corrected by the captain, because it's just right there. The other person that can correct it is a chief or a gunny. Chief or a gunny is basically the same thing. They have the same power, but one is Navy and one is Marine. A gunny, it's an E6, it's an E7, and a chief is also an E7. Of course, there are other ranks that go above that, about 3 or 4 more. But in the officer's candidacy, you can go all the way up to admiral. My reason why I'm making this video is basically to educate you and tell you that if you're gonna go enlisted, they're just gonna push you around. No matter whether it's the Marines or the Navy, you're just gonna be pushed around. So your best bet is to go to school, get a 4-year bachelor's degree, and then come in, submit that package with your bachelor's degree, and then you'll be accepted, unless you have medical issues, of course. But in my case, I was accepted. The Navy did not want to give me officer's candidacy. In other words, they didn't want to make me an officer. I had to wait 18 months, but the Marines were offering. And another thing you need to know, even though the Marines are very well disciplined, they work under the Navy. In other words, the Navy owns them. That's the reason why when you want to be an officer in the Navy, you have Marines teaching them the drill, going through OCS, which is officer's candidacy, and they're teaching them how to become officers in the United States Navy. We also get officers in the United States Marine when we are trained, and these are Marine officers. We don't get Navy officers, but Navy officers get Marine officers. But at least you're an officer. You know that at the end of that, you're gonna get a classy job, whether it is a pilot, whether it is a tanker, whether it is you're leading a certain amount of company because you're doing infantry. All these great jobs, whether you do intelligence, you're an intelligence officer, and when you get out, you have that accreditation, an accreditation that makes you worthwhile, respected outside. But as an enlisted, you hear them very little of them, don't you? Don't you hear them? Don't you hear of them very little? I do. That's because to them, they don't think they're capable of doing certain things. And I don't mean every one of them, but I mean it's a minority. If you notice, most of the people that work in the White House are officers. Or in some cases, politicians are usually officers that serve the United States Marine, Navy, Army, or whatever. So there are several ways you can become an officer. You can go to an officer's candidacy office instead of going to that crappy high school where the recruiter is going to stick it to you. Go to an OCS office. I don't know whether I here in my city because, well, when I moved in, I just wanted to relax and think about other stuff, like building this channel, for example. Even though I'm not doing a very good job, I hope you guys help me on that, of course. But I'm telling you the truth. There are several ways you can become an officer. You can go to school and get a bachelor's degree, or you can do something what is called Seaman to Admiral, where you can join in the military and they will grant you to go to school. But guess what happens? After you come back, you have to commit yourself to 6 years of, um, 6 years of sign up so that you can be with them for that long. On top of that, the 4 years that you went in, that's also added. So that's almost 10 years. But that's what they got. But there are other deals. But I wouldn't go there. I didn't go there. What I did when I joined in as an enlisted, I went to school. They give it to you for free, so you could go to school. They also give you your GI Bill. In my case, they gave me something called the Yellow Ribbon, because I went to, at the time Obama was in it, and Obama has a different way to pay off. And I love the Yellow Ribbon. The Yellow Ribbon pays you to go to school and pays you your tuition. So you pay nothing. You're basically working. Consider yourself like you're working and going to school. It's pretty easy. And the payout is really great. So those are the two ways. You can come in as an officer, go to an officer candidacy office, or go and join in as a Seaman to Admiral. I don't know how the Air Force have it. I'm sure it's pretty much similar to that, because remember, I am not Air Force, but I do know Air Force systems, and they're pretty much like what anybody else is doing, which is Army, Navy, or Marines. The system is set out so that you can join a very inefficient position right now. There's a lot of recruiters out there trying to get you in if you're young, only to waste your time. And then you're old, and now you see yourself, oh my God, what have I done? When you could have been a leader, when you could have been in charge of a platoon, or in charge of a particular aircraft, or in charge of anything, intelligence, for example, or decryption. There's a whole bunch of positions as officers that are very beneficial when you get out. But when you become an enlisted, you rarely think about what you did when you were inside, because you don't feel that you fulfill your accreditation. It's not that easy. Now, some of you may disagree with me, but I'm telling you, that's what I saw. And that is the reason why I became an officer. Of course, I am honorably discharged now, but I don't think it's fair that you guys are going through a particular testament of what a military is trying to do with you. I don't know what else I can say. This is basically what my comments were about. I wanted to talk about this because I've been wanting to talk about this for years, but I always keep it to myself. But I think it's time for me to tell you about me a little bit. If you have any questions, please comment, ask me questions. There's a lot I know, and I won't trick you, and I won't lie. Just like my videos, I try to tell you the truth about my videos. I may not, in some cases, do a great job, but I am trying to tell you what has benefited me. And in this case, what has benefited me is joining the Marines as an officer. I was first class United States Marine. serial number 4038. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you guys subscribe. I need subscribers. I need to know that people are watching my videos so that I can continue doing more. I really appreciate you watching my videos as well. You have a great night, and I'll see you on my next video. Take care. Hoorah.